They've woke the moke and he's in Las Vegas, baby, pronouncing that the end is nigh. Meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen's taking a nap. This is freestyle chess. Let's take a look at the board. The pieces are all jumbled up, but let's stick with it here because the games are incredibly exciting. In this game, you're going to see a 20-move smash from Hans Niemann playing Arjun right now, world number 4. Then we're going to have a look at Magnus Carlsen versus Aronian. Queen sacrifice incoming. It really is awesome chess. Let's jump in. It's group stages. This is hands with white. Both players activating the queens. Now the bishops. Arjun takes over the center, but Hans fighting right back. We're not going to spend tons of time in the opening. No one has a clue what's really going on, right? More so than usual anyway. Now the knight develops. Hans copies. Both players stacking those ponies. Not every day you see that, right? Big knight sandwich or kebab or something. And now you could shatter the pawn structure. Let's take it a move further. Hans, Reefy and Cheetos. And here you are actually well advised to shatter the pawns, then play pawn e5. There are ideas now of bringing the queen in with check in certain lines. You know, if white were to jump, let's run back. Let's examine the game because e5 played straight away. Very ambitious and not good because after this centralizing knight move, brilliant, now takes is played, white's got a very decent advantage already. You could take with the rook with a great game. Niemann goes with the knight and now you really have to castle. To do it in chess 960, if you play online, you stack the king on the rook and then they end up on the same squares as if you'd castled normally. But you can't have any pieces in the way of the rook and the king. Anyway, no castles. We saw takes on f4, huge blunder. There's already a winning brilliancy for white here. Can you find the move? So very well done if you saw the spawning of the seahorse. Niemann whispers the chess speaks for itself. What's the big problem? Well, if you try and take here with check first, let's say, because you want to capture the knight with queen and knight, right? But you don't want your own rook to drop. So let's say you go for this. Well, now when you take, the problem is bishop takes and the queen's overloaded. If you capture here, this is a checkmate. So what to do? You're just running out of moves. Queen f7, but then there's this check. And white's got a huge attack, huge initiative, just winning, especially because you can now castle and bring the rook in. This one's dead in the corner. There's a number of lines like that. The pieces are overloaded. So what to do? Arjun desperately tries f3. Castles was best, but then you drop a pawn here. This is also pretty suicidal. White is killing it, but that was technically best. This was played, but now we see takes with check. Queen recaptures and this deadly pin win going on. How do you defend the knight? Only one way, and it's castles. You know, bishop e6 was no good. You're still taking, supported by the knight. This covers. You could win an exchange, but if you see a good move, look for a better one, which is castles queenside. We get queen e2, desperate for counterplay, but now takes. Yes, you could take here and we get something like this. Whoops, my computer's lagging. Then you bring it back and you're still killing it. The rook's going to drop. So in the game, we saw bishop e6, but now this little check was flicked in. Great move. Takes. Now takes here. Pawn recaptures and the intermezzo or Zwischenzug, it's takes here with check. That's a deadly move because now you save the rook and we see resigns. Why? You're an entire piece down and there just isn't the counterplay. There's nothing. The bishops can come and sit and check. This one can come back and round up the pawn. King's perfectly safe. There's nothing to be said here.
Chess speaks for mushrooms.
So we jump to Magnus Carlsen. This was the round 1 matchup. This is now round 2. Levon kicks off with the d4 pawn. Not the most normal looking move, let's say. They often open bishops or queens on the first move. This is what Magnus decides to do, but fine, Levon with the central space. He wants to set up the big center, so Magnus clamps down. Now the knight develops into the game. Magnus copies. This pawn sets up a chain here, and we're going to keep rattling forward as Magnus pushes the pawns. No one really knows who's better and why here. It's so random. It's so confusing. The players are starting to learn the patterns. Magnus erects the big black center, and after takes and takes, he's now got a very nice central presence, and Levon's a bit scared of this e4 move. Technically he should castle and just allow it, but he plays this, and somehow Magnus starts unraveling here. Bishop e6 covers his pawn. Now we get castles, but queen c6, and it's initiative for black. Big challenge for white is these 4 pawns just strangling white pieces in the center here. Very, very uncomfortable. The rook is tickled. Now the bishop drops back. Magnus whispers, stack my bishop, and probably you should go for e4 immediately. Something about it Levon didn't like. He plays this rather mysterious rook move, always a great way to freak out your opponent if you don't want to do. Nudge the rook to a weird square. They'll be head scratching for like 20 minutes. Real good tactic. Now we see castles played. a4 from Levon, trying to nibble away at the chain, but the rook now centralizes, takes, queen takes. Don't blunder your queen. This is no time to Botez gambit. Magnus spots it. He's the world's #1 cheese master, and after queen b1, going for the pawn, now this noble steed centralizes, opens the defense, and it is going to hop him. Levon tries to randomize things with this b4, break out against these chains that are shackling him, and this is his idea. Takes, and you can't quite win the pawn as black, because first you got to sort your queen out, and then b5 might come and white breaks out a bit. But we didn't see that played. We get bishop g5 here, attacking the knight, and the problem is that after b5 going for the queen, queen e8, queen b2 to defend. Look at this for a juicy, loosey, lovely square, knight e3. Now there is an octopus that Stoctopus can be proud of. If you sidestep with the rook, retain your bishop bear, well then there's queen g6. It x-rays this checkmate, and black can just slow motion improve, who knows, run a pawn, move the bishop soon to threaten mate. There'll be more weaknesses, maybe the f pawn runs. It's really, really horrible. Huge traffic jam, terrible pawn structure. So instead, Levon takes, bishop recaptures. He must have been hating his position here, and now can you find the most direct knockout blow, which Magnus does? Well done if you saw the move of pawn to e4. Activating the queen was also strong, but this is best because after takes, by the way, if you move the bishop somewhere, then this is simply dropping. This is the big challenge. The bishop is pinned, so this and this you can't take for the reasons just mentioned. So what to do? If knight takes, then what's the problem? You're losing the exchange, and with it the game soon to follow. So Levon desperately tries, takes with check, queen recaptures, and rook f1, trying to win that lady or make her move, pick up a vital tempo, but no, it ain't happening. Magnus having none of it. If he did move his queen, then the knight can take here. White's really fighting. Instead, he plays the brilliancy. Pawn takes on d3. Sacrificing the queen at the altar of beautiful chess. Levon takes it, and here's the point. You got back rank issues here. If you try and, what can you do here? White to move? Yeah, I don't know. Takes. Well, then there's this, and you're getting branked. That's back ranked. Checkmated. Nasty. So Levon goes knight f3, coming away from the attack, blocking the file, but now this little piggy's going to market, about to queen, and if you try and step over like this, love this sadistic move, rook d8 first, then this the blockade. Now here comes the sadism, is that a word? A4, because you're threatening to bring the bishop in. Let's say you give the king room, bishop b3, and you just can't stop the pawn running through. You know what to do. Let's run back. This wasn't played, queen c2. Instead, we saw knight takes, but after Magnus takes, you can't even win the bishop. Still got the back rank issues, so this gives room, but now check. King here, check. Magnus just hunting that one down. Sure, two pieces are now attacked, but this takes care of both issues. Queen a3 now takes with check, you know, discovered check. King f1, rook a2 supported, hitting the queen. And if you put it somewhere, hasn't got many squares by the way, but say you go here, possibly the only square in fact. Yeah, I think it is the only square. Well, then this is checkmate in 2, and it goes wham, bam, slam. That's a checkmate on the board. Great game by Magnus. Hans also beat Jeffrey, and Magnus won in round 1 against Vincent. Some awesome games going down. They're in round 3 about now, going on to like 1 a.m. UK time. So yeah, I'll be bringing you this first couple rounds. Maybe try get some up in the day tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed. Do consider subscribing and have a look at the video on screen if you want to see an epic encounter between Magnus and Hans World Blitz Chess Championship 2024. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon. Cheers.